to the High Road Podcast, and today we're talking about something that will either elevate your life or quietly drain it. Your table. The place where your energy, your trust, your growth, and your peace are served. Who gets a seat? Who gets to stay? And who, no matter how much you love them, needs to stand up and walk away. This isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. Because when we set boundaries, we stop cycling through the same hurts and start creating space for real growth. We'll talk about why people cross the line, why hurt people, and how to protect your space without losing your heart. If you've ever wondered why your table feels so heavy, or why you keep serving yourself scraps of peace, this is the episode you don't want to miss. Hey guys, and welcome back to the High Road Podcast. This is your host, Maddie, and I'm so incredibly excited for today's episode titled No More Empty Chairs for Old Patterns. Today, we're going to dive deep into a conversation about ourselves, about the people that are in our lives, about who we want to be, and you're going to leave today after listening to this episode really reflecting on the people that are at your table. And if you want them there, or if you feel like they're really not benefiting you. And this is not going to be a conversation that's selfish. I think that we really need to get away from believing that it's selfish for us to not want to be around certain environments or groups, or that we can't help everybody. It's not our place, and that's not coming from like you shouldn't give or love or accept people for who they are. It's coming from a place of you are responsible for you. You can only take accountability and control you. Everybody else is on their own and needs to figure it out on their own, because every single person has their own journey. Can we support our friends? Yes. Can we love our partners? Yes. Can we care for our children? Yes. All while our people are going through their own journeys, 100%. But today we're going to talk about boundaries and how people don't get to do whatever they want to us, period. And I'm coming from a place where, unfortunately, but fortunately, I had to learn this the hard way. At one point in my life, I was completely drained of my peace. I mean, my peace was gone. And that's why today I think of where my life is and the peace that I have and how hard I frickin' had to work for it. And it's like I wouldn't sell it to you for any amount of money. Peace is so priceless because I let everybody have access to me. People that should not have had access to me, they had access to me. They had access to my life. They had access to say what they wanted to say about me. They had access to, like thinking that they could then behave or in any way or disrespect me, or just even in ways that they had no idea, by getting into my mind and controlling my attitude and my behavior and the things that I said and the hate that I once felt in my heart. That took away all of my peace because I let people sit at my table that didn't belong there. I stayed in toxic relationships. I stayed in some friendships and relationships for way too long. I wanted to feel wanted by people who just didn't want me. And that came from a place of hurt. It came from a place where I needed to heal from. I needed to have hard conversations with myself as to why did I even want these people? Like, what was it about them that I wanted them to say yes to me? That I wanted to please them, hang out with them? Like, what was it? I was chasing people in places who just were not meant for me and did not accept me for who I was. I lacked so many boundaries. I had no idea what boundaries even were. I didn't know that you could believe or feel two things at once. I didn't think that you could, love a person, but still be like, you cannot do this. Like, and where was my mind when I felt like if I were to love someone, that meant that I stayed with them and like was by their side and was waiting for them to change, no matter how crappy they treated me along the way. Why? Why did I do that? Why did I want everyone to like me? Why did I want love so bad? Or why did I want 100 people at my table rather than 5 solid people? Why? These are all questions that I had to ask myself. I had people sitting at my table that just did not belong there. And I want to make it very clear that today's episode is not coming from like a negative mindset. This is not one of those F you, screw all people, I was hurt once, stay the hell away from me, men stay away from me, women stay away from me. Like this is not one of those things. It simply is the fact that hurt people, and you get to choose and take accountability for you. Period. That is it. And we can help other people when they're hurt. We can support, we can care, we can love the heck out of them, but we can't do anything for them. And so if someone chooses to stay in a toxic place, if someone chooses to stay in an unhealed place, do not think that there's anything that you can do to change them. That is between them and God. I'm a believer, so that is exactly what I believe. You can believe whatever you want. But at the end of the day, no matter what, that is their own choice, not yours to make. And so it is your choice who you get to allow at your table. I went through many toxic relationships. I was disrespected, hurt, and betrayed by so many people. And that is why I firmly believe that hurt people hurt people. I got to a point to where I understood that a lot of people know what they're doing, that they intentionally hurt people because they're hurt themselves. I also understand that there are people out there that unintentionally hurt people. But when hurt people, it is because they are choosing to stay in the same cycle over and over and over again. And that is something that I really had to learn because I had a choice to stay in a hurt place and to continue to hurt people. And I did. I did for a while. I stayed in a place where I was hurting other people because I was a hurt person. And it didn't work out too well for me. And in fact, it just continued a cycle where I ended up looking at myself in the mirror, not even recognizing who I was. So we have to understand, and it helps me give a little bit of grace too. Because if we don't look at every single person at the actions that they're doing, a cheater, a liar, this person refuses to respect my time, this person, all of these things, I'm not ever justifying what someone does to you. That is where you then get to let them and then make a choice as to what you're going to do next. But a lot of the times, people stay in patterns simply because they're a hurt person. And so we have to remember that we're not better than anyone. And for a really long time, that's kind of how I seen it. I kind of seen myself as better than the people that had hurt me. And it took me a long time to not point the finger and to actually have conversations with myself where I needed my own healing to understand that I wasn't, in fact, better than that person. Maybe that person just wasn't making the right choices, or maybe they're making poor choices. But at the end of the day, that's not my place to judge. And that was on them as to what their consequences were going to be, if any. But until I took control over my life and I understood that, okay, now I get to choose my own healing and I get to choose if this person stays in my life or not, made a huge impact. It completely rewired my brain. So I want to talk to you today about, why do we do this? Why do we let other people have access to us? Why are there times in our relationships with people at work, our romantic relationships, our friendships? Why do we let other people control us? Why do we let them sit at our table when we really didn't even give them an invite? Oftentimes, this is a mix of like emotional, psychological, and all practical reasons, but they run really, really deep. And they're rooted in us oftentimes in ways where we need to heal. We have a fear of conflict. Saying no or setting boundaries can kind of feel like starting a fight. And for a lot of people, if you are like maybe with someone who's hurting or someone who hasn't seen maybe disagreements done appropriately or like in a calm manner, oftentimes this is going to start a fight because sometimes that creates a defense mechanism in someone. And so like anytime there's just any sort of confrontation, it's automatic defensiveness, it's automatic raising your voice. And that's not how it's supposed to go. Like, it's okay if there's not a solution to things. It's okay if you can't find a solution right away, but it's never okay to act like a crazy person towards someone else and start an argument over someone maybe expressing how they feel. Because how you feel is how you feel. How I feel is how I feel. And everybody gets to perceive things in any way, shape, or form, however they want to. It doesn't mean that we need to agree, but it just means that you get to see it and feel how you want. That's our right. And you can't argue about that. So people often avoid these things just to keep the peace. I can't tell you how much I see this, and it hurts my heart. Because if I just don't say anything, and if I'm just quiet, it's going to keep the peace, and it's not going to we're not going to get into this big argument, or you see me differently, or all of a sudden you don't like me because I'm expressing how I feel, or I'm telling you no, I'm not really giving you like my all, we're not really I'm not really being authentic to you, so I'm just going to just be like a yes man and just nod my head. People just want to keep the peace instead of use the skills to communicate. And communicating is hard. It's something that we're constantly learning. So fear of conflict is one. The next one is guilt. We're taught to be nice and accommodating, and if we deny anyone access to us, it feels selfish. And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, okay, you need help and I can't tell you no, and I'm supposed to be there for you, and I should fix this. Think about this as parents. If we don't fix problems for our kids, we feel like it's all on us and it's all our fault. And it's like, no, that is not how it goes. That is super unhealthy. And like there are things that we can support and care alongside our children, but it's not on us as people to take the guilt and to take the burdens of other people. We can love and support people along the way while they go through their own journey, while they go through their own struggles, their own hardships. But if we feel like we're not giving someone access to us, like let's say you have a toxic friend, right? You know that that person is not really reflecting who you are. That person talks badly about other people. That person wants to do activities and things that you don't really believe in or you don't want to spend your time on. But they've just been there. They've been that person that's been there for you. You've known each other since high school. And now that person, they need to have access to you. No, they don't. People can change. And it is healthy to grow. I like to outgrow people. And that is okay. And you can outgrow someone and still love the hell out of them. Understand that. That is perfectly okay. But you still you don't have to be best friends with them. The third one is you hope that people will change. This is a huge one for me. I stayed in relationships for so long. For years, I stayed in relationships just being like, oh, I hope this person will change. And maybe they did the same thing for me, right? Like, they're like, oh, I just hope this girl will change. Like, there were lots of things that I needed to change as a person. But there were a lot of really toxic, like red flag kind of things. And I felt like I just needed to fix everybody. And I learned the hard way. Nobody can be fixed, like, on another person's terms. And it's that person's journey. It's that person's choice. If they want to fix anything, if they want to heal from anything, if they want to better anything in their lives, it's not on you. And I had to learn that the hard way, especially in my relationships, understanding that, like, I want to believe in the best version of you. So I'm going to give you all of the chances that, like, until you get there. And then they never get there. And then I'm like freaking 10 feet in the ground. Number 4 is low self-worth. And this actually has a lot to do with, like, for me anyway, the previous one, hoping that someone will change. You just wait around and wait around and wait around, and eventually it really affects your confidence. It really affects your esteem because this person is hurting the hell out of you, but you just keep waiting for them to change. You just keep waiting to fix them. And before you know it, you're an entirely different person and you can't even recognize yourself in the mirror. If someone deep down believes that they don't deserve respect, they'll tolerate anything. Because that is going to reflect, like, what they believe about themselves. So I didn't expect to be respected by other people because I didn't respect myself. I didn't feel like I could confront anybody or, like, show that I was worthy of love because I didn't love myself. I didn't have boundaries with me and the things that I was prioritizing and the habits that I had. So therefore, I certainly didn't have boundaries with anyone else. Number 5 is fear of abandonment. This is a deep one. Letting go of someone can trigger fears of being alone. So they cling to what is familiar, even toxic relationships. This is the one that is so sad for me because after I went through what I did when I was in an extremely toxic relationship, for a long time, I sat in that discomfort of being in that relationship because I felt like it was, well, at least I'm not alone. And in order for me to ever heal from that place of, like, I would rather be alone than be with someone who is taking from me and taking my peace, that had everything to do with me. Like, what that person did was their choice, and how I decided to stay for much longer than what I needed to, that was my choice. But it really had a lot to do with all of my inner work and why on earth would I choose to be with someone who is taking from me and not adding to me and taking my peace and, like, taking the most priceless thing from me. And it's because I allowed that person to sit at my table. Because I talk all the time about not allowing someone else to control you, not, allowing someone to have access to you in that way. But when you are living with someone or in a relationship with someone or just in a tight, like knit circle with someone who is not healthy for you, not healthy for themselves for that matter, they'll take from you. And it's so sad to want to stay in that place because you just simply fear abandonment. And that's almost a natural response for people, because why? Well, we fear the unknown, right? As people, we always want to know what's next. We want to know what's coming. And so if we don't know, it creates this fear in us. And so I'm going to talk about this a little bit further, but that was one of those things that I really, really struggled with because abandonment was so hard for me. I didn't want to feel alone, and I also couldn't sit with myself. Both of those things were extremely, extremely uncomfortable. Number 6 is habit and history. Long-standing patterns make unhealthy access feel normal because it's all you know. This is where like the psychological abuse comes in when you stay in unhealthy relationships that are verbally, physically, mentally abusive, because then it becomes the only thing that you know. So then when you don't have it, like I'll never forget when I told my counselor, so this is probably almost a year after I was separated from the very toxic and unhealthy relationship that I was in. And I had told her that for the first time in my life, it just is quiet. It's almost like too quiet and it's boring. And I was like, that's the truth, but it's so weird for me to say that. And I felt bad because I was like, is this peace? Like what, like why does it, what is my problem? What's wrong with me? I'm not saying that I want chaos, because I don't. Like I want all healthy things. I want really good things. And like her and I talked and we went back and forth and just, it helped me understand that the chaos and the constant running of my mind of being prepared and ready to survive the next unfortunate thing that happened, the next bad thing that happened in my relationship that I needed to be ready for, that I was in like fight or flight already. I stayed in that chaotic state for a really long time. And so then once I was out of it, it was like, what do I do with my mind now? Now the only person I'm sitting with is me, and I'm kind of boring, and quite honestly this is really uncomfortable and I don't really like it, so like maybe I should just like find a distraction. and long story short, it was the biggest blessing in the world, and I'm glad that I like told her that. And I'm glad that I phrased it even in that way, because it allowed for a conversation to take place to help me understand that no, nothing is wrong with you. And yep, it's because you lived in chaos for a really, really long time. And quite honestly, it became a habit, and that's all that you know right now. And now your life is completely different. And now you have quiet, and now you have peace, and now you don't have to just survive. Now you can actually live. So you just need to rewire your brain. Number 7 is manipulation or guilt tripping. There is a thing called narcissistic people, and some people are just really good at making you feel responsible for their feelings and keeping you in that cycle. And this is psychological and mental abuse, and it is not okay. And it is really hard when you're in it, because you start to feel like everything is your fault, and oh, you're telling me that I'm responsible for how like you just quit your job, and now I'm responsible for how you got into an argument with your mom, and like I'm responsible now because you're crying on the floor and you're yelling and screaming at me. You're right. It's all my fault. At one point I believed these things, and once you're in that cycle, and it sounds crazy. It sounds so crazy. But it happens all the time, because sometimes people, unfortunately, are just really good at manipulating. And if you are vulnerable in any way, shape, or form, in any way, you can be a victim of the manipulation that person. And sometimes there's people that unfortunately they latch on, they find out where your weakness is, and that's where they're going to come. Like that's what they're going to come at you for. And one of my things was I was extremely empathetic, and I still am to this day. And I was a people pleaser. And so I wanted people to like me, and I believed in the absolute best version of everyone and didn't believe what was right in front of my eyes. So that was a big wake-up call for me, and I had to learn a healthy balance between I can love people and I can have empathy for people, but I can't fix people. And people don't get to manipulate me for how they feel, because everyone is responsible for themselves. So right now, I want you to really reflect on the people that you are allowing at your table. And if there's anyone at your table that you are allowing and you're not quite sure if they should be there, I want you to reflect on the information that we just talked about. And we're going to take a quick break for our sponsors, so I don't want you to go anywhere, because when we come back, I'm sharing the part that most people miss about protecting your table. This is the piece that could completely change the way that you choose who gets access to you and who doesn't. Right now, share this episode with someone you care about, the first person that comes to your mind, and stay tuned. You're going to want to hear what we have next. Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm so incredibly excited to talk about this next half of our episode, and that is, how do we protect our peace? How do we actually protect our table? Who are we going to invite to our table, and how are we going to maintain our peace? Or how are we going to get peace if we don't have it right now? So let's talk about some table rules. Here's what you can do. Work on clearly stating your boundaries. Tell people exactly what you will and will not tolerate without an apology. This does not mean that you need to be this high-end, high-maintenance, ridiculous kind of person. It just means you mean what you say and you say what you mean. Period. If someone is going to be disrespectful to you, they should know what your expectations are, what your boundaries are, because then when they decide to do it, they should know you are not going to be there. That is it. You should enforce the consequences. And that is number 2. If someone crosses a line, you have to follow through. You can't just say words. And this is the hardest part about boundaries, because you can say anything you want, right? In relationships and friendships, at your job, with your kids, you can say all those boundaries. If you swear at me one more time, I am taking your phone away. I'm like, it's like I'm preparing for my kids to be teenagers. But then you actually have to follow through with it. And that is where boundaries go wrong, right? In relationships, we have to clearly state our boundaries, like very clearly. The people that have access to us the most should have the most boundaries. That only makes sense, right? That is the math. It's not the people that have the most access to us, oh, they don't need boundaries. No, they do. And boundaries are healthy. This is not like, it should not be a trigger word. It shouldn't be a word that has a negative connotation to it. It's a good word. It's a good thing for people to have. The person that you are in a relationship with should know that your boundary is, if you decide to yell and scream at me or call me names or be physically violent or cheat on me, just know this is my boundary. I will not be here. Just clear as day, right? And are those things expectations? Yes. But do they happen in relationships? Yes, they do. And with your with your coworker. You can have boundaries with your coworker. I'm going to let you know that right now I'm working and I'm not going to gossip with you about that, or I'm not going to engage in any gossiping behavior. Actually, that is the boundary. I would love to talk to you about anything else, but the boundary that I have is I'm not going to gossip with you. Period. Like it can be something so small. It could be something so big. It could be something like your mother loves to call and talk for 3 hours a night. This is not my mom, by the way. She is not someone that likes to really talk on the phone for a long time. But it's like, okay, you call and you know what? I know that you want to talk for 3 hours. However, I want to spend time with my family, or I want to watch a show. I want to have some alone time. So let's talk. But my boundary is that we're going to talk for 20 minutes. And you can say all of these things in such a nice, wonderful way. Like, I used to think that boundaries meant that you needed to be so mean, and that meant that the person was going to be offended. And it's like, and if that person gets offended, let them. That is totally on them. But it is your choice. You get to be responsible for you. You get to enforce what you want around you, the environment that you're in, the people that are around you. You get to do that. Give yourself permission to do that. Number 3 is reduce availability. Be intentional, about when and how you respond to calls, texts, and requests. This is vital. I read one of the best quotes, or mini articles, I guess that you could say. And it talked about how we live in a world where everybody feels like they have access to one another. And it's because they do, right? We have social media, and social media is meant to be just this wonderful thing where we can communicate with other people. And that's what it's intended for. But it's also created a world where it's like, okay, this person has access to me. And the second that I get a phone call, the second that I get a text, the second one of my social media notifications pops up, I have to look at it. You don't. You don't have to. I am a 2 to 5 business day person, when I will respond to your text. I am terrible. Unless it is my mom, my boyfriend, or a message that is so in dire need of me responding, we live in a world where it's like, you don't respect my time. I have fully communicated this with people, where I tell my coworkers and my friends, when I get off work, I go home, I put my phone away, I'm spending time with my kids, I'm doing something for myself, I'm putting things away. I certainly have my TikTok time, but my TikTok time is my TikTok time. I'm not going to spend it doing other things. I'm doing it for myself. And so being intentional, I keep saying intentional and I don't know why, intentional about how you respond and when you do. It doesn't mean that you're being rude, and you shouldn't be rude, right? One thing that I had to learn was, if I want to keep friends, I need to make sure that they understand how appreciative I am of them, and I need to communicate with them, and I need to make time for them, right? That's one thing that you do in healthy relationships. But I also I'm okay with being you're not having access to me right now. And you know what? And I don't need to have access to every other person either. If you don't answer my calls, if you don't answer my texts, that is okay. So just understand that it's okay to reduce your availability to people. And people should be doing the same thing to you. That is all right. Number 4 is surround yourself with growth-minded people. It means that you're continuing to try to better yourself. It doesn't mean that you're this perfect person. It just means that you're trying. Invite the people to your table who inspire, challenge, and encourage you. Not the ones that drain you. Not the ones that want to gossip. Not the ones that want to be negative. Not the ones that want to complain about every damn thing under the sun. Be with the people and invite the people that are going to make you better. When I went to therapy, and I talk about my therapist all the time. She just was so amazing. And she used to ask me really, really hard questions. And I stayed with her, even though at first it was really intimidating because I was like, oh, I don't know the answer to these questions and they're about me. Like, this is hard stuff. But stick around those people. And yes, that was just my therapist. It's not like it was my friend or, like whoever I was inviting to my table. But my point is that be around people who challenge you, who make you better, who bring you and encourage you to be the best version of yourself. Number 5 is say no without explaining. No is a complete sentence. Have you ever heard that before? Because I haven't. You don't owe anyone justification. I am so bad at this. I feel like I need to just explain myself all the time, but I'm trying to get better about just being like, no, I don't feel like doing that. No, that's not me. Like, that is okay. Those things are okay. And we need to say no more. As people, let's say no more. Let's start a pact about saying no more. Number 6 is limit time in draining environments. Remove yourself from spaces where disrespect or negativity thrives. If you know that in that little lounge area, like where everyone in the office goes to eat lunch every day, and you know that they're going to be talking crap about so-and-so, or they're going to be complaining about how much they hate their lives, how much they can't stand this job, stay away from it. I, in the past, have worked with people where it's like their negativity drains the hell out of me. And I'm overall a very positive, person who walks around with a smile on my face, and it's not fake, it's genuine, But those days when that person drained, I would, everybody needed to stay the hell away from me, because not only did I take her negativity, but I tacked on all of the shit that I had going on, and there was nothing in my mind that was going to change that in any way, shape, or form. So protect your energy, protect the environments that you're in. Don't let other people drain you. Stay away from them. They need to figure it out. And I'm not saying that you can't vent, but do it appropriately. Whether that's in therapy, whether that's having a beer after work with your closest friends, or whether that is journaling, but find an appropriate way to do it and don't drain everybody else in the process. Number 7 is regularly reevaluate your guest list. Who is sitting at your table? Are they good for you? Are they taking from you? Check in with yourself. Ask yourself how you are feeling. How are you doing? Is this person aligned with your growth? Does this person reflect who you are? And in order for you to ask yourself that question, you have to know the answer. As far as who are you? Where are you going? Who do you want to be? And that was one of the biggest things that was my problem, was that how did I know who, was supposed to be at my table if I didn't even know me? If I didn't even have a relationship with myself, if I didn't even know where I was going or who I wanted to be, I couldn't answer those things. So first you need to figure out who you are. And then you need to figure out, who do you want there with you? Who's going to be at your table? Number 9 is listen to your gut. Oh my goodness, if someone, people did tell me this. People told me all the time to listen to my gut, but I didn't. I didn't listen to my gut, my heart, nothing. I had my blinders on with so many people in my life, wanted to please them, wanted to believe in the best, wanted to change them, wanted to fix them. But the truth is, if something feels off, it's probably because it does. Now, there are times when it's you can be someone who is an overthinker and you are totally wrong. There could be times when maybe you need to heal from past hurts or trauma and you are totally wrong about a person or a situation or an environment. But overall, trust your instincts about people's intentions. If it feels wrong, look into it, observe. Don't go diving in for control and trying to change someone. Just, it's become a habit of mine to just kind of observe. Just observe people and understand that there's nothing that I can do maybe that day or the next week, or, maybe there's sometimes when we don't get an answer that we're looking for, or we don't get an answer that we want. Because sometimes when we observe and when we try to trust our gut, and then we actually find out that what we were afraid of, that person's intentions were not indeed good, but we wanted to believe something different. It's hard. It's really hard to accept. But please, for the love of God, accept it. Please accept it. Understand that there are a million, billion, there's so many people in this world. There are people that are for you, and there are people that are not. Leave the ones alone that are not. And number 10, model the respect you expect. That's so good. That is really good. Your actions teach others how to treat you. Just like I talk about all the time, like the same with parenting, right? Like what you model to your children is what your children are going to do. So model the respect that you want other people to have towards you. Does this mean sometimes turning the other cheek? It does. Does this mean sometimes being the nicer person? Yep, it does. Does this mean sometimes simply walking away and not cussing somebody out? It does. Does it mean using manners and just being having a smile on your face, asking someone if they're okay? We know in this life, people are not always going to treat us the way that we want to be treated. They're not always going to treat us the way that we treat them. But we still should model it. And when we model it, it's not only rewiring our brain to be resilient when people are hard to deal with, but it's also rewiring our brain to continue to be positive. Anytime that I've been super negative or just zoned in on any sort of bad feelings, that's what I've then put out. But if you are putting out positive, at some given point, you're going to get that back. So we talked a lot about other people. We talked about, what we should be looking for and how we can protect ourselves from other people. But the most important thing that we actually have to do first is, you guessed it, look within ourselves. In order to look at others, we have to do the hardest work. We have to have the conversations that are difficult with us. We have to look at ourselves. We have to heal, take responsibility. We have to take accountability, and we have to choose. Because we can't just point the finger at other people and tell everybody that it's their fault and it's their problem. And everybody at my table, well, you guys can go, because you know what? This isn't my issue, it's yours. In order for us to even be able to invite the right people to our table, we have to be able to understand who we are. We have to be able to understand the ways in which we need to heal. And that is one of the most grateful things that I can take away from the really hard times in my life when I experienced hurt from other people, when I experienced betrayal, and when I gave access to people who didn't deserve it. It taught me so much more about me. It helped me to ask myself the question as to, what was I searching for? If I was searching for love, why did I want it so bad? And why did I feel like I didn't have it? Why did I feel like I couldn't love myself enough? Why was I looking for that in another person? If I was fearing abandonment, why was I so fearful of being by myself? What was I afraid of that was within me? What feelings was I dreading? What things was I trying to distract myself from? And I had to sit with those things. And I had to ask myself those hard questions. because we can't invite people to our table and ask them questions and search for things that we don't even know the answer to. We have to be rooted in who we are. We have to have a foundation first. And then once we have that foundation, the beauty of this life is that we get a choice. We get to choose if we're going to stay the same, if we're going to grow. We get to choose our environment. And what a privilege that is to choose who we get to love, to choose who we're going to befriend. And a lot of this conversation too, I think, well, we don't get to choose our family. There's so many situations where I work with children or I hear stories about kids who didn't get to choose in that way, right? No one gets to choose their family. And unfortunately, they had a not very good one. But then they get to grow up and they get to make a choice. They get to choose their boundaries. They get to choose how they're going to live their adult lives. They get to choose if they're going to heal or stay the same and repeat the same patterns. That is the beauty of this. As people, we are meant to change. We are not meant to stay in the same place. And as scary as that may seem sometimes, it means that we get to grow. We get to heal. And we are built for it. Our brains are built and meant for rewiring. And that is such a beautiful thing about this very hard life. Because in this life, we have a lot of hard things, and we get to choose our hard. We get to choose who we are going to be, who has access to us, and whose table we are going to sit at, and which ones we're going to kindly decline. So today I want you to understand that your table is more than just a place for connection. It's where your peace, your growth, and your future are served. Not everyone will understand your boundaries, and that is okay, because they're not supposed to. You are not here to repeat cycles. You are here to rise higher, grow deeper, and protect the sacred space you've worked so hard to build. So ask yourself, who at your table is helping you grow, and who is holding you back? And remember, protecting your peace is never selfish. It's necessary. Thank you for joining me on the High Road Podcast. If today's episode spoke to you, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and let's keep building a table where only the best versions of ourselves can sit. God bless you.